Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the fourth season of the New Era Paranormal podcast. This will be Neppy's main content series besides our Remnants project going into the new year. If you haven't checked out the Remnants project, make sure to check it out. I will talk about it more at the end of this show. We also now have a donation page on Buy Me a Coffee for supporting the show. The link is in the description below. So tonight's guest is Reverend Anthony Holmes. Reverend Anthony is a seasoned paranormal investigator who has appeared on the History Channel, HBO Max, and Discovery Channel's Josh Gates Expedition Files. Anthony works alongside his wife Deena, combining biblical studies, real world investigations, and hands on client work to help people find peace in some of the most intense and unexplained situations imaginable. They are also closely connected with NESPR and the legacy of Ed and Lorraine Warren. So, Anthony, can you tell us about how you got started in the paranormal?
Yes, sir. First of all, man, you know how everybody say I came up with it or something happened when they were a child. Same thing. I came up around it. It was like a normal thing. I had a family member who was into a lot of mantra meditation and stuff like that, and he was also into witchcraft, which ain't good at all. And coming up around there, I guess about age 7 on up and seeing a lot of things with my eyes. And, he used to come over and all us cousins get go in the basement and he light a black candle and we sitting in circles and doing crazy stuff. I had no idea what was going on. But since then, I always was curious about it. And I say this world is temporary. The world is to come, that's eternal. And it's a lot that's going on there and that will go on there. And so many people
Yeah.
are into the paranormal. They want to know who they are, because we're first spirit, we have a soul, and we live in a body. So that's pretty much got me interested into it. And I just, got on a meetup group and got with a group, Inspired Ghost Tracking, and started learning everything from there. And then was there for a few years, and then I went over to Merlin Ghost Trackers, which is well known, and we were also part of TAPS. So we did a lot of stuff and learned a lot of stuff, and from there, just been, learning all I could learn and helping people when they need it. And it's been some interesting things that took place, and how I met Lorraine Warren and things of that nature. But that's how I got started. Me and my wife, actually.
And you're talking about your wife, Deena.
Oh, that was funny. She was the biggest skeptic you will ever know. And I said, "Let's go on investigation." So I took her to Moundsville for her first investigation. Well, I take her to that big place. We were investigating, and I left her. She was so excited taking pictures. So me and one of the lead investigators were just talking, and we happened to just be leaving, and I noticed she wasn't with us. And I said, "Hold up, where's Deena?" She come running out of one of the halls, flying. She ain't know what was happening. She was scared, pissed, and all kinds of stuff. That's how she started on her first investigation. And then from there, we went up and met Lorraine Warren and stuff like that. And here you go. Yeah.
How did you end up meeting Lorraine? What was it at that investigation, or was it in a different way?
It was in a very different way. Lorraine Warren and the team used to do ornology in Connecticut. And I told my wife, let's go up there and see what it's about. So we went up there. Monology, we miss it.
That was
First,
their lecture series, right?
yeah, what you
Yeah.
do is you meet at her house at 7 o'clock. We're in the front room for a good hour and a half, listening to teaching on demonology, and things like that through her her son-in-law Tony, and she talked a little bit. And after that, we go downstairs to the Halloween room. We love Halloween stuff, so the basement was filled of it. So we're there, and from there you walk through the passageway. It's a long hall from her basement leading into the museum, occult museum. And then when you get in there, totally different atmosphere. First of all, there was a priest in there daily praying, and when you go in, all you smell is sage and lemongrass, and the priest is just doing prayers. We weren't allowed to touch any of the objects or anything, but we're allowed to. There's much stuff in there. It's crazy that they get from a lot of the cases that they had and things of that nature. So we was there for about a good hour or so. It was a long day because when we leave there, we go down to Stephanie Cemetery. That's where Ed Warren is buried. And Lorraine Warren's daughter Judy, her husband Tony Sparrow, he would do a teaching on psychic photos. So we were there for a good 45 minutes. And then we left the cemetery and went up the street to Roberto's, which is a huge Italian restaurant. And that's where we have all you can eat, everything. And that's where me and my wife were sitting down at the table. And Lorraine came to me and said, "Where you go?" And I said, "Well, I was at the museum. Then I went up to the cemetery, and now my wife and I are here." She said, "I was looking for you." She said, "I want to give you my number. I love your aura." I said, "Yeah, sure." So I gave her the number. And then ever since then, we talked, and she was more like a mom to us than some investigator or person who started it. Even NESPR, we look at them as the team. We did a lot of stuff with them, but we're more family than some paranormal team.
Yeah.
We used to go up to the house and Fourth of July cookouts in the yard and all kinds of stuff. Nothing that had to do with paranormal. Just up there spending time with them. And I called her a couple of times a week just to check on her because she was old and she make sure she was all right. And ever since then, it's like family. We used to just go over the house and just hang out, friendsgiving, all kinds of stuff. And that's how we got involved with Lorraine and NASPAR and everybody else. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That you
And I
saw
know
the
you.
light too. That's
hmm
beautiful.
And I know you probably heard of Union Cemetery. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if you did. Um, that's like what down the street, not far from Lorraine's house. My wife and I went there, and that's where Ed Warren saw the lady in white. Can you hear me well? Is this sound
No,
okay?
we got a little bit of an echo all of a sudden.
Okay. I could take this thing off too if you want me to.
No, wait, it sounds better now. Hold on.
Oh, it does.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Sound a lot better.
Yeah, so far, yes. Let's see how it
Uh,
goes.
all right. Yeah. So we went to Union Cemetery, and my wife, she was, I don't know, way on the other side, doing the EVP or something.
Oh, it's
And
back.
okay, I can unplug it and just talk through the mic on the camera
Let's
too.
try. Yeah, let's try it and see.
Yeah, because I hate this thing on my ears. Let me see. I do, I do, I do. Uh, 1 second here. Oh, there you go. I'm also like all confused. Here we go.
Oh, you've got to change your audio to your mic on your computer. No, we can't hear you.
Well, we got a good turnout in the comments, and luckily you already started to respond to people.
Yes. Hello, Linda. Hello, Chris. Thanks for jumping on. And while Anthony's taking care of his mic, figuring it out, he has worked with NESPR and Lorraine Warren and for a long time, and he also has experience in private investigations. He has his own group called The Guided Path with his wife. They started The Guided Path, and they act as religious advisors. Are you back? No, audio's off. Let's see if we can. If you go into your settings, hit settings on StreamYard and see if you can change your audio. He's appeared again on the Josh Gates's Expedition Files, where he talked about The Exorcist, which I can't wait to ask him about the second he gets his mic working. And of course, he works alongside his wife, and so that probably adds a whole other level of experience when you're investigating the paranormal, when it comes to working, with your partner in life as well as your partner in your work. So it has a whole other dynamic, a whole other level.
We're still not hearing you, Anthony.
He's muted. Give me 1 second. Let's see if that helps. Nope.
Yeah, I tried to unmute him, but won't allow me to.
Yeah. So Linda asked what episodes. So it's History's Greatest Mysteries was the Amityville horror documentary. And for Josh Gates's Expedition Files, it was the Strange But True episode. It aired just a couple weeks ago, actually. It was a pretty good episode where they talk about the Exorcist. They go through the history of how the story started, where it came from.
Still no audio.
Audio. You got it?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
It was right in front of me. Yeah, it was right in front of me. I wasn't even looking at it down below.
It's all right. At least we can debunk it as being paranormal.
I know, right? Yeah.
So Linda, who's watching right now, she asked about the Expedition Files episode and your other episode too that you were on for the History's Greatest Mysteries. But Can you tell us a little bit about being on that show and your experience with The Exorcist, your thoughts on all of that?
My thoughts, well, I knew it happened to a boy, not a girl. And a lot of the stuff people think for the possession and all that stuff, I mean, it happened. Yeah, but it's like so many different stories out about the Exorcist. Especially since it happened way back then, you get so many different versions. Well, this took place, that took place, and stuff like that. I don't live far from where it happened. It happened in Washington, D.C., Mount Rainier, Maryland. That's about a good 45 minutes from me or so.
Oh.
And it happened to a little boy, and his aunt, she introduced him to the Ouija board. She was a medium, and she was all wrapped up in that stuff. And she basically told him, when I leave, if you need to reach me through this board. And that's what he tried to do. And when he did that, what he did was open doors to something else. and that's what took place. He came in and wrecked his life. So he just went through all that and went through the hospitals and stuff, and the doctors couldn't do nothing. And so the priest tried to do a lot more things and stuff like that, and eventually ended up working out, for the long run. But no one ever knew who he was. He didn't say anything about his life or what happened. His family didn't say anything because it attract too much attention. So that's how that story went. And you know how sometimes um, TV in Hollywood will make things seem so extreme when it actually really wasn't that extreme. You see, it ain't turn all the way around and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, he spoke other languages and stuff, but and that wasn't him. That was was a spirit speaking through him. But far as all the other Hollywood stuff, no, it reminds me of investigation. You watch TV every time the commercial go off and come on, they got evidence or saw apparition or something. It don't happen that way. Uh,
No.
no, it doesn't. We investigated from like 8 p.m. to like 6 in the morning. Ain't nothing happened until 5 minutes before we left. So it don't happen after every commercial.
Yeah.
It don't work that way, So um, that's all. What happened with Roland. Um, it was a sad story, but he ended up living a normal life. Him and his family. So working for NASA, and he actually helped
Hmm.
out with space shuttle and all kinds of stuff. So he was around people probably in investigation. They didn't even know who he was back then because he ain't reveal himself. So
No.
yeah, nah, he did not reveal himself.
Especially working in the scientific community, if he had revealed himself in any way, I doubt he would have been taken seriously.
Yeah, 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 he would have. He would have. And they didn't say much about his aunt, just what she did and what she was into and what she introduced him to, and just how spirits would come in and wreck your life. And they would take the smallest thing and just use it against you, control your mind, all kinds of things they can do. So it's like, I tell people all the time, don't mess with that Ouija board. It's not just a toy. You opening doors that you don't have no idea or information about. These spirits have been around from the ages way before we were thought of, beginning of time. So, you can't fool them. They know all about you, so just gotta leave that stuff alone. They betray to be your friend and you think it's somebody else and stuff. And oh, I saw my aunt or I saw my cousin, and you draw close to it, and then that's when it attacks. And then that's when people be getting called in to come to your house and investigate. That's one thing that gets to me. A lot of people, they go in the house and investigate, and then they leave the client just the way it is. They go in because they want their EVP or pictures and stuff like that, and their name known and stuff, but they don't help the client. So that's what I like about Lorraine and them. Lorraine and them, they are more to helping people. I know the guys, they go out and investigate or whatever, but they're more into family. And that's what my wife and I do. I haven't investigated like out there in a while. I used to be everywhere. But now we just help families who are in need and stuff like that. And we came across some crazy stuff with these private investigations. So some of those privates are worse than the regular, you know. So
Yeah, how do you approach a private investigation? How would you
first,
recommend?
well, a lot of people get in touch with us. We don't know how, but they they get in touch with us, and we call them. We talk to them on the phone for a little bit. Um, we will email them. It's like when you go on a job interview, we email them something like that, but it's more about them, the family, what medications you on, have your children been into something like this, or have you ever been into the occulted scene? Or we just ask every question in the world. We tell them to try to be there on their best just to answer what they can. And we would take that and read it, and really go over it. And then we'll set up a meeting in person, and we'll go over there and talk to them before we see what's really going on. Because a lot of times when we have had the application and stuff, and then we go in person, everything on there's changed, you know, and you're like, and a lot of times, sometimes they want to just be known, and they get mixed up and then into what they were saying to you, and you catch them in lies and stuff. That's why it's good to have them to fill out something or just to get a little know about them. Then you have those who are legit, and then you just go over there and you talk to them and you pray with them and you go around the house and see, look at things, see if they got things in the house that could be causing stuff. Is their daughter or son into black magic? Do they have a bunch of books on the occult and stuff? Or
Yeah.
what are they doing? They got Ouija boards hanging around. They doing seances and all kinds of crazy stuff. It's not hard to pick up once you go around the house and stuff like that. And when you do, then you just get with them and say, you know what? First of all, it's a lot of stuff you need to get rid of. Because a lot of people like their demons. They don't want to get rid of stuff. You
Mhm.
clear a house and you help them, and a week later, the same stuff happening again
Yeah.
because they starting to do what they done. They don't leave it alone. We can only do but so much, and when we
Yeah,
leave,
it's
it's
up
up
to
to
them
them.
after a point.
Yeah, and so we keep in touch with them and stuff like that. But every place my wife and I went to, and when we left, there's nothing else been going on. And, it says a lot. We try not to miss anything when we're there and stuff like that. And we talk to them, we keep in touch with them, and let them know that we care. It's not just about, what's going on. We care about the family. So we try to make sure they're okay. You know, and sometimes it ain't nothing. It's just rodents in the walls or something. We ran across that. We go, all this stuff happening. It's in the wall and all that. All right. So my wife will go outside and look out, and I'd be inside or vice versa. And you see droppings or hear stuff in the walls and animals, rats, raccoons, and it could be
Birds,
an old,
bats.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it could be an old house to settlement.
Yeah.
You just got to explain to them. So we normally go into the bunk first before we even do anything else. So yeah.
Well, that brings just as much healing. I feel, we haven't done, of course, as many private investigations as you have, but the when you walk into a space and you tell them, oh, this is what's actually happening, this is what's actually happening, when it's actually something in the physical world that's making it happen, it lessens their fear. They're not afraid anymore because they know where it's coming from. So that's another level of healing for them.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Now we had some really, tough ones too. Private
Yeah.
investigation. Yeah, we had
Share
some tough
one,
ones too.
please. Give us an
Um,
idea.
let me see. West Virginia. Oh man, you ever seen that movie Wrong Turn
No.
or The
No.
Descent or nothing like that? Okay, yeah, like way out there in West Virginia.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, you heard of
With
Katrina?
Mothman.
Yeah, you do you know Katrina?
Yeah,
Katrina
Weidman.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, good friend of ours. She called us and asked if we could do a private for her because she wasn't able to do it. So we went out and took care of that. Well, on the way, a hawk like almost ran into the car window.
Hmm.
We got out of that and then keep going down. with something else came across the car. I mean, these mountains is just crazy. No rails on the side.
Yeah.
That shook us up. We just kept praying until we were all the way to the house. And after we got with them, we blessed the house, went in every room, got them to get rid of stuff. One big thing was a Ouija board that they were heavy in. We talked to them a long time about that, got them to destroy that, burn that up. So then, after the investigation, going home, we're riding up the mountain. Something else almost hit the car.
Oh my
We
gosh.
ain't see it. Go up a little more. Something huge and black ran across the car right when we were turning, and the edge of the went right across the car. And this thing wasn't a bear. It was the size of, how a baby bear is, a little bigger,
Yeah.
but it wasn't that. It was pitch black. It was weird looking, and it kind of darted across the car to kind of like probably throw us off. We kept going. And then a strange thing, this huge raccoon ran in front of the car. He didn't make it though. We hit him
Oh man.
so hard, the car shook. I stopped the car for a little bit. We were almost out the mountain. I ran. We drove all the way down to the gas station. I parked. I mean, this thing splattered. I parked, and when we got out the car and looked at it, there was not a spot. There was no blood. There was no dents. There was no hair. There was no nothing. You
Oh
felt it.
wow.
Boom. You can hear it. You saw stuff. Get to the end. That car should have been wrecked. There should have been blood on it. It was nothing like as if we never even went in the mountains.
Holy
So
cow.
that we were protected that night because we always pray for protection when we go in homes and out and stuff like that. Because when you're dealing with stuff like that, whatever demon or spirit was interrupting that family, you piss it off. So it tries to get you.
Well, that's
So
what it sounded like it tried to do
yeah,
with other animals.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it didn't work. So through prayer, it did not work. Stuff like that. And we came across so much crazy stuff. We were in Connecticut at Union Cemetery, like I was telling you earlier. My wife, when she heard that voice, I was in a graveyard. Some dude was way on the outside. He drove up to our car. He put all kinds of witchcraft stuff on our car and then drove away real quick while cussing us out. And I said, whoa, whoa, hold up. And then I cleaned that stuff off the car. This was a little after we met Lorraine, and I called her and I explained what happened. She said, it's okay, honey. She said, just get that stuff off the car. I said, it's done. She said, just pray. And I did that. She said, people used to come to my house and leave stuff at the doorstep every day to try to harm me and Ed. And that's when we started talking about that. But then we hung up. My wife and I went back in the yard, graveyard, and he came back and got out the car and was cussing us out. And I told her, I said, hold up, look, I ain't got time. I'm from DC. I don't want DC to come back in me. I'm like, I was gonna walk out there, and he sped off again. I said, boy, So I just chilled and stayed in the graveyard. And then that's when my wife heard that voice call her name. And she way on the other end. So I run down the other end and she going crazy. I guess you know how they do this and all this stuff when shook it up. And that was
Yeah.
her first voice she ever heard, out of the blue, out of the clear. And I talked to her about that and stuff. And but yeah, it's been a good time. We then had our worst investigations. And that night we didn't pray. Only night we didn't pray.
Wow.
And all heck broke loose. And that was at Ohio State Reformatory. That was a tough one. Yeah.
That's an active place.
Mm-hmm. We're very tough. We brought something home with us too. It was crazy.
Was your experience in solitary or
All right. So as soon as we got in, we did go to solitary, but afterwards, we went to the West Wing. It was like down the room where you meet and put all your gear and all that stuff.
Yeah.
When you go out, you go straight or whatever, you into the West Wing at Ohio State. And because Solitary is not far from there.
Yeah.
So we were in that West Wing, and I was putting the camera up, trying to put it up at a good level. And I asked my wife, what you think? And something said a little bit lower. And then now we didn't hear that till the EVP. Then
Okay.
so I was trying to fix it. I was looking through the video camera lens, and all the way down the other end, you see something. This thing looked like it was 8 feet tall, pitch black, red eyes. It was on one end of the cell block, and it just creeped real slow across the whole cell block while it looked at us real slow and went on.
Not unnerving at all.
So yeah, I said, man, seriously, I'm look, I'm black. I'm supposed to be at 7-Eleven somewhere making some tacos, get a soda, and who thought I'd be doing this crap? Man, that I was looking at the walls trying to see, if anything coming up the walls, crawlers, or anything. And here go my wife. Well, let's go down see where it went. I'm saying, all right. In my mind, I'm like, really? But we went down there, and then down the very end, and the way it went into this corridor, but it ain't no door, it ain't no steps. It's just an in, and then it's a wall inside. That's it. Then that whole night, stuff was happening. And I get home, we listen to the EVP, and because I told my wife, I said, let's go to the other end of the cell block and kind of get away from this area just for a little bit. And when I heard it on the EVP, it said, come on back. And that was a Class A EVP. And I said, are you serious? So stuff started happening in the house. We just started arguing out of nowhere. I'm watching TV. I'm watching they're going practical jokers. In the kitchen, we had all the way the shelves up top with the refrigerator and all that. Well, to put stuff in it, you lift it up and you put it in it down. You got to go down. Well, I'm sitting down. In order for this thing to get out of there, it had to be lifted up and thrown. So I'm sitting down, and that thing went across the kitchen. And then
Yeah.
my wife was hearing stuff. She's in the shower and she hearing voices, and stuff like that. I said, you know what? Let's take care of this thing. So I went around, I blessed the house, prayed over the house and everything, then everything just stopped. But yeah, stuff will jack you up if you don't know what you're doing. It really will. We lost people, a good friend of ours, Maryland Ghost Trackers. She passed away named Laura. She kind of helped put the group together. Awesome investigator, but she was in that thing heavy. We lost her. She passed away. All kinds of stuff we noticed happening to people we knew in the field. So it's a lot of danger with it if you don't know what you're doing. A lot of people like the thrills and all that, but don't go in it for just the thrills. Study about
Yeah.
it before you mess with it, because it's real. You
That's a
know.
very good
Yeah.
point. It is.
Do you want to?
That's the biggest deception, is to make you think it doesn't exist, so you don't prepare yourself before you're going in. And so if you don't believe that it's in any possibility, like that something could happen, then it's not being careful. Danica has a question. Sorry, JD.
Yeah. What are the steps of clearing the house, and does every house need a cleaning?
Not not every house. Not every house need a clearing. Sometimes it's people who are on medicine. Uh, Sometimes there are people who are on drugs. Drugs make you see all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, we had one person that was on Ambien, and they were really tripping. And we found out what they were on, and we found out why they were tripping. And then once they got off that stuff, and the doctor took care of, lowered that dose and all that, they were fine. But the steps of clearing the house, you first talk to the family, get an idea of what they're going through, and we try to look up stuff. Who lived there before you? What was on our grounds before the house got there? all types of stuff. And when you
Mhm.
you get to find out that you just put it all together, you go in the house and you go, like I said, go around and see if there's any items there that shouldn't be there and stuff like that, or find out if they're into anything that they shouldn't be into and stuff. And then you go around. What we do is we take blessed holy oil and water. We anoint the door frames of the rooms, the closet, the windows, the doors, stuff like that, and we pray over the house. Now, I tell everybody this: a lot of people they light sage. A lot of people they just buy it and just light it. I tell people all the time: you get some sage and you light it in somebody's house. You don't know where that sage come from. You didn't pray over that sage when you got it to remove anything on it that shouldn't be there. When you just go and light it into their house, you're releasing something else in their house. And you could be releasing something more powerful. You could have got it from a witch and she did some prayers over it and you bought it from her and you light it in somebody's house and then all kinds of stuff start happening. So if we do use sage, we take it, I pray over it, I bless it, ask God to remove anything on it that shouldn't be there, anything demonic, anything, and to use it for His glory, His blessings, and ask Him to fill the house with His sweet aroma of sage, and that it may, dissolve anything in the house that shouldn't be there, and stuff like that. We just try to anoint everything and pray over everything we get before we end up using it in somebody's house. And that's a wise thing to do because so many people that we have had investigators call us because they went into a family's home and tried to get rid of something and made it worse. So we went and took care of that stuff for the family because they were doing stuff in the home thinking they were helping, but they were just making it worse. Um, that's what, yeah, that same Ed Lorraine Warren were the same way. They go in and bless the house and pray over things and counsel the family, check on the family and stuff like that, and make sure that they're all right and make sure it's nothing that doctor needs to get involved into and stuff like that. And because sometimes you may have a person that's depressed, darkness love dwelling on people who's depressed. They try
Yep.
to make them suicidal, all kinds of stuff. So sometimes you might have a psychiatrist or a doctor to get in to intervene and to help that person, get them on medication to help them, get their spirits back up and until they get there and stuff like that. And because it's a lot more than just a spirit or something haunting the house. It has a lot of to do with the person as well. You know, let's say children. We've worked with children a lot. Children are very vulnerable, and spirits know that. The demonic tries to take advantage of that, and we have helped kids who had imaginary friends who told them to kill themselves after they kill their family.
Oh
Mm.
boy.
You know, so that's some serious stuff. You know,
That's
Yeah.
so
that sounds pretty evil, which leads to Linda has a question. She asks, "Have you ever had to cleanse an evil spirit from a home? And is that, and what was your experience with that?"
yes, I have. Yes, I have. The experience is not no different, really. Well, a little bit, because when you go into a home and when the spirit is really there, evil. First of all, you're going. I noticed that in this home, the home was tore up. You ever seen hoarders, the people who,
Yeah, yeah,
all right, it wasn't that bad, but it was bad. Spirits love filth. If your house not in order, you're not in order, and they know that, so they dwell on that. So then, when you go into a house that's infested with something, a spirit, dark spirit, sometimes you get that smell. It smells like sulfur,
yes,
a very bad smell. You know, very bad. And like you say, sometimes the temperature change and different things. Some areas of the house is so dark. So what we did is we noticed in the house the person who was dealing with it was so under demonic depression that they kept the house dark. So we kind of counseled them, ministered to them, open your blinds, get some light in this house, put some new lights up in them sheds, bright lights, clean
Hmm.
this house up, and kind of help them do that stuff. And after they do that and the house is clean, it's bright, it's full of bright light, it kind of helps them to change because that atmosphere starts to change. And then that's when you can really talk to them and pray with them, counsel them, and then pray in the house and remove anything else there that's dwelling that shouldn't be there, even on the land. So that you got to look at everything, not just what's going on with them. How's your house situation? Is it tore up? Is it dark? Is every blind shut? You know, stuff. It's a whole lot you got to look at that people miss. In plain sight. So yes, so once you do that and clean it up and pray with them and get counseling for them and really don't talk to them just that day that you investigate the house. Keep in touch with them, follow up with them, you know, take them out to lunch or something, really see what's going on, see if they're okay, and see where they are now, things like that. Follow up is so important dealing with a client, so
That's really
don't
good to
just
think
go in there and
about.
leave. Hmm.
Yeah, because that's more about ethically, that's more about the person and helping the person than just like you said earlier, getting the EVP you wanted.
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot, you know. EVPs and stuff and all that stuff is fine. You get, I mean, we've heard so much crazy stuff and seen so much crazy stuff, but it's the person. Because if you don't really help the person, that person can become suicidal, and then that spirit win, especially if that
Hmm.
person take their life. So it's a lot. It's a lot to it, and it'll drain you. It'll mess you up too if you're not ready. It'll mess you up. And one important thing I tell like my wife and us talked about is that so many people do these investigations. You ever go on investigation or go to cleanse a house? Don't go if you're angry about something.
No.
That spirit will use that anger against you and it will tear you up and whoever else you're going to help because your mind isn't there, you know. Or if you real sick or something, don't
Yep.
go because you become very vulnerable, so
You're distracted, and if you're distracted, anything can slip in.
yeah. How's it sound so far?
Just a
Good.
little bit of an echo, but you're good.
Computers are
Uh,
weird.
so where does the guided path come in? What is that? Uh,
Oh, the guided path. All through scripture, you see where God is just leading people, the disciples, the 12 disciples. The Lord was their guided path. He led them everywhere, And when you in ministry and stuff like that, and so many people who call themselves demonologists and stuff like that, they love the things in the Bible. They use Jesus' name in their prayers and stuff like that, but they don't obey the Bible. And I look at that, I'm like, are you using God? Or are you actually going to call yourself a demonologist and really get into scriptures and dedicate yourself to the Lord and to the life? Or are you going to do it and then leave and go to the bar and get high and smoke and all this and just use his name?
yeah.
So it's like the guided path is just what God is. He guides us. He's the path, you know. And as long as you stay on that path, that light, you won't go wrong. The enemy could try to attack you different ways, but as long as you stay on that path and have the Lord with you, He's your protection. Because I believe my wife and I, we should have been gone. All the stuff we went through, but we still here. You know, we know God protect us from stuff we didn't even know was coming. And don't even know about.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
hmm
I kind of
so
have a follow up question. Might be kind of controversial, but do you feel that it's a good thing or an okay thing that people are coming to the paranormal out of a means of hobby?
did they just come into paranormal to get involved and mess with all the stuff you saying?
As a hobby, a
I
path.
used to I used to look at it when I first got into it as a hobby because I was curious. Now, a lot of people I know that are involved in it and getting involved in it, they're curious. And the reason
Yeah.
why they're curious is because they're first the spirit and they have a soul and live in a body. And this time here is gonna go away. The spirit realm is the real world. In your spirit first. And a lot of people want to know about that side, but a lot of people trying to figure out about that side the wrong way. They're trying to get involved in things they don't know nothing about. They're trying to tap into stuff they don't know nothing about, you know, and it's dangerous. Um, I tell people all the time, you want to get into a paranormal. The whole Bible is paranormal from the beginning to the end, you know. But I feel that don't get into it for a hobby. Get into it if you want to learn, and research, really research it and learn it, not just to get a good thrill and all these things. And get into it to help
Mhm.
somebody. There's a lot of families out there that are struggling with the paranormal things happening in their house they don't know nothing about and need help. The church won't help them. All this stuff. But you can be the one to help them. Get in, learn what you can learn, study it, uh, study all you can. Don't just jump in it and say, "Hey, let's do this." No, you don't want to do that because you don't know what you're doing. Perfect
Mhm.
for attack. A
Yeah.
lot of these groups they form their name and then get all their black T-shirts with their name on it and stuff, and call themselves a group and everything. And the first noise they hear, they run because they don't know what's happening. And a lot of people think it's a joke. It's not. Uh, the paranormal is no joke. The evil side and the good side, spiritual
No, yeah.
side, yeah, whatever. You don't play with that stuff. This is stuff
Yeah.
that's been here from the foundation of the earth and before. A lot we don't know, a lot we don't understand. Angels, a lot of people love angels. All right, well, what study about the angels, learn about angels. Who are they? Where do they come from? You know, why do God have them? Why do certain angels do certain things? Just study about them. Learn all you can. Just don't go in and say, I'm going to pray to an angel. What are you doing? The Bible
Yeah, you don't
says
quite
the
know what
devil,
you're praying to. Yeah.
the Bible says that the devil comes as an angel of light. Is that the light you talking to that you think is an angel? You got to really know
Mhm.
what you're doing,
Yeah.
before you get jacked up, and you don't want that to happen.
No.
It's very
Do you
important.
when you entered the paranormal, so you studied you had your degree is in biblical studies. Did you get that degree before doing this, or did you start doing this and realize you wanted to go deeper? And how were you drawn to that?
When I was learning about the paranormal and stuff, I said, okay, this is what the people here in the earth or is saying. What does the Bible say? What does the Creator say? So I wanted to get into studies of biblical theology. So I did that and got through my associate's degree and gonna finish up and working on my bachelor's eventually. So that's what made me get into it. You could find out so much more when you study, you know. Because yeah, I mean, when you study, you really want to not just read the surface of the Bible, you know. Try to study, you know, what does the Hebrew say about certain scriptures, or the first language Aramaic, what does that, you know, language say about certain scriptures or whatever. And you just want to study about stuff, and it was fun. It was a fun journey, you know, and I like it a lot, and I'm gonna finish it, you know, try to finish it, stuff like that. But and then at my church is an elder dear, really good friend of mine. He's in ministry. He travels, ministers all over the world, and he's with Real Power Church Ministries. And I kind of knew them too, so we linked up, and I was ordained as through that ministry, huge ministry. So it's been good. You know, it's been good. I've been speaking at tent revivals, all kinds of stuff, and I just love speaking, teaching, talking. You know, I could talk my head off. Sometimes my wife will look at me like, "Shut up," you know. But it's just so much, you know, out there. Um,
Well, when,
and
okay, so oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh, not just ghosts. You know,
Yeah,
the paranormal is not just ghosts. It's a broad field. You know, you got the Mothman. You got the UFO situation that's happening. Yeah. Actually, a couple of years ago, I spoke at the Mothman Festival in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. That was really good. Got to meet a lot of great people. You know, so it's the field is huge, and
yeah,
Squatch, you know, Bigfoot research, and
yeah,
you know, I love that. You know, I know something out there. You know, Bigfoot is just the name that he got, but there is something out there. It could be something that was there that we just can't catch.
yeah.
You know, could be something
So,
we just uh-huh.
well, I mean, we could talk more about like deeper into the cryptids and what you think and how that might associate with the spirit and things like that and what we're seeing. Like how would you define what a cryptid might be? Do you think it's just something biological, or do you think it can be something spiritual or something crossing dimensions? I mean, everybody has different opinions on what they think. Do you feel like it could be something more dangerous?
I believe it could be all. It could be something dangerous. It could be something that biological, something that's been here, like when Bigfoot. Can y'all hear me good?
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
like Sasquatch. You know, Sasquatch. I believe that's something that's been here. You know, something's been here for a while. We just can't catch. And the reason why I believe that is because they see fish in the sea at the bottom of the sea, new fish they ain't never seen before,
yeah,
probably every week when they go down there. There is there is land. There is land in forests which man has not tapped into yet on this earth. They haven't researched everything on this planet yet. This place has nobody ever been, you know. So I really believe that there's other things out there, you know, that we don't know about.
yeah,
And like Squatch, when people see it, I believe that if the real people, the legitimate people who actually really seen something, I believe they were seeing it because they were at the right place at the right time. You know,
yeah,
and a lot of people say that Squatch have a lot to do with UFOs and all that stuff. Uh, I mean, people could believe what they want, but I believe that's something that's been here, you know, and that they find animals they ain't never seen before.
they
Hmm.
So
do.
we don't know about everything, you know. But then there are things that probably do come from other dimensions and things like that. The UFO theory and stuff like that, you know. I mean, these are I mean, one thing I remember in the Bible talks about that in the end times you will see things in the sky that you never seen before.
That's true.
So that stuff is just coming to pass. That's all. That's all that is. You know, and my wife and I saw something here. I got in from work. She was already in. She was in the back. looking at the sky. She said, "What is that?" I said, "I have no idea." And we stared at it for a long time. It was a metallic at the bottom, the grayish type, and the top was red. And when I went to got my camera and look up, it didn't fly away. It just said gone. And we weren't the only ones that seen
Down,
it
gone.
gone. And people were like, it was a lot being talked about out here about that. So there are things that exist, And the
Yeah,
Phoenix lights, you heard of the Phoenix lights?
yeah.
Okay.
I think we're getting some audio feedback, JD. Okay.
I don't
So
know
what
how
were
it would.
the Phoenix Lights?
Yeah, Arizona. Uh
Yeah.
Dr. Lynn. Uh I've talked to her, I messaged her a couple of times. She's on my Facebook too. I mean, this thing was so huge, huger than a football field. And the way it went across Phoenix, Arizona, it didn't just shoot by. It just went by like this, and without sound. And when you get stuff that happen like that, stuff that you probably won't ever see again, it blow your mind, you know.
Yeah.
And so yeah, there are things that take place. We don't know about it all, and I guess it ain't meant for us to know about it all. Um, it's probably something that's curious about who we are, who we doing, you know.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, there are things out there that can hurt you, that can kill you. And bet you heard of Betty and Barney Hill, who had that UFO abduction and all that stuff took place. If you read about them, that was a big story too.
Was that one back in the 60s or 70s, or is that a different one?
Uh, Back then, some around that time,
Okay.
sometime, yeah.
Somewhere around there. Yeah. Yeah.
Their niece do lectures for MUFON a lot. Um, yeah, that if you read their story, a lot of stuff happened. But one thing I can tell you is that a lot of things that take place with the UFO phenomenon, these abductions, the main thing that a lot of people who've been abducted say is that the thing told me that there is no God, that they are God. Now, when you get something like that coming to pray to betray to be God, watch out, because it's not. And it's like, things like that you have to really, really think about, because the spirit world is huge, and you never know what can happen to a person out of the spirit realm, you know. And there are a lot of people who are allow those things to come into this room because of how they are and what they do. A lot of people who do UFO watching and stuff, like they want to see something so bad to the point that it opens a door to something coming in.
Being
So
deceived in some way. Yeah.
yeah, so people have to be very, very careful with stuff like that. Stuff we don't know about, don't touch it because it'll kill you. Just like they say, curiosity killed the cat. It'll be curiosity killed the person. They don't know what they're doing. So it's so much stuff, and all you see on TV now is this paranormal stuff. You know, UFO, Bigfoot, Jersey Devil, Mothman, uh, anything.
Yeah.
It's just taking over. Taking over people's minds and stuff like that. And a lot of people are so deep into things they can't get out. It has a hold of them. So you have people just be careful, be real careful. Because you only have one life here. And once you out, you gone. So be real
Mhm.
careful. You know,
You
yeah.
make a good point too, in getting as educated as you can, because there is so much out there that is unknown. Why would you not get as educated as you can in approaching the world that is also like largely unknown? You want to come
Hmm.
at least with something, a basis on something. So it makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense, and that, so I agree in a lot of ways. And for you, have you ever been caught off guard? I guess before we kind of end for tonight, have you ever been caught off guard, other than the Ohio State Reformatory, but in like this like the spiritual sense, in where you walked into a space and you thought you had it handled, you were good, you knew what you were doing, you had all the background you needed, like, in, I don't want to say like in, but the only thing I can think of is in like a more arrogant way, because I want to
Hmm.
kind of put this out there and have you, what you learned and how you changed that, for because there are a lot of people that do that, like you were saying earlier, walk into a space, have no clue, and then end up with something happening. So like, what can you give us an example of an experience and how you corrected, and what you learned?
Yeah. Oh wow, there's a couple of them. Once I can't remember the name of the place. Not far out in Baltimore, not far from Baltimore. We were there doing investigation. It was about five of us. It's like a house. Man, it was around this time of year. It was cold as heck, and we were just investigating. I was like, la da da, I'm fine. Ain't nothing gonna happen to me. So I decided I want to go outside down to the cellar part of the house. So I went down there. When I went down there, I just sit down and was there. And I'm like, this is nothing. Something starts breathing in my ear so heavy, gave me, I mean, like heavy, like heavy, heavy. And I got the, I tripped going up the steps. I said, nope, 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 get out. Nope, nope, nope. I tried to get out the cell. I tripped up the steps.
Oh man.
Went on up the steps and got the heck out of there and went upstairs. And I had issues all night, and things that caught me off guard big time because I thought I had it under control. Oh, that's fine. I'm not worried about anything. A lot of things, stuff like this happened with me. And where was I? Oh man. Ha 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 ha. It's like a mental hospital, and it reminds you of apartment building. But it's not apartment building. It's just one building.
Like
I was
Waverly, or a different place?
Hillview.
Hillview.
Hillview. Yes. Now I went to yeah. It was Hillview. Oh goodness, man. I went in Hillview. I was on one floor, and I was talking. First, me and my wife were up on the third floor, and we were just sitting down talking. And we're like, oh well, this is nothing. It's quiet, ain't nothing going on. Because Hillview is right next to the street. Sometimes you can hear the cars, or ain't nothing going on. Next thing you know, we started hearing stuff getting out of beds, the hospital beds. You could hear it,
Like the
and
spring or movement or silence.
yeah, buddy, you can hear it. And I said, oh shucks. So we were sitting there, and then you can hear it, and then you could feel a presence, but a dark presence. So we went down to the other floor. And when I was walking down the long hall, here we got doors on both sides, rooms on both sides. And when I was my wife, they had the REM part or something down the other end. And I said, well, I'm gonna walk all the way down to that. We were at the bottom. I'm gonna walk all the way down to the other end where it looked like it's a cafeteria or something, that big open area downstairs. When I was walking, when I passed each door, you saw a shadow coming with me, just like that.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and then the REM pod stuff we had set up, you could hear it going off the same time going up. And when I got into that big part, they had the big piano and all that stuff. You could
Yeah.
feel a presence. I felt very sick. Stuff like that. That caught me off guard. And this is it's wild. It's crazy things. And Hillview, I've been there about three times, and each time I went to the place, stuff happened. Even way in the very basement. You know, a lot of
Oh
stuff
yeah.
happened. Yeah. At Hillview, then you had this place is in PA, I think too. It's another sane asylum. Um,
Crescent Sanatorium or where else?
Trans-Allegheny.
no,
Trans-Allegheny.
no, it'll remind you of another house.
Oh,
It's on the. I ain't been in so long. I can't
it's
remember the
okay.
name. When you go in there, you go in the basement. You don't know how the heck to get out. It's
Oh,
like a maze there. It has an elevator in there. When we at
Sounds
the
like a fun place.
yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I got a lot of stuff on tape. I'm sitting there. The elevator don't work. Haven't worked in a long time. I'm sitting there and we doing. You hear the stuff that start going and the door open and shut.
Oh
You know.
man.
And in the basement, you go down, but you don't know how to get up. All crazy stuff. And a buddy of mine, I had a lot of people who had bad experiences there. And my wife and I were upstairs. A funny thing happened. We were in the attic, and you could hear doors and things happening in the other room and in the other rooms by us. And the thing about it, when we go up the steps to the left, there's a room, and we had our equipment in there, and we sitting on the floor in the open part, and just stuff start going crazy. Stuff start coming up the steps, and my wife was freaking out. And I said, I need to get her out of here. So I said, well, we got to go down the steps. She said, no, something coming up. You could hear the footstep. I said, it's all right. We went down the steps, down the first flight. She said, my stuff's still in the room. That's where all the stuff was happening. So we went all the way to the top of the steps. When I got up top, we was up top. I said, well, go get it. She said, "No, I ain't going in there because the door was." But I ended up going in there and getting it and stuff and getting out and that whole night was crazy. That whole night was crazy. It I can't remember the name of it. It's not far from the city. I think it's PA. It'll
Oh,
remind you of
Linda wrote Penhurst. Is I
no,
don't
not
know.
Penhurst. No, not Penhurst. I've been there a lot of times. It's not that big. It's big like it's like Hillview, kind of like,
Okay.
but it's more of a house, but big.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
can't think of anything.
me neither. That's okay. But it's the experience, and for you, it was like these are and like you can be prepared as you can, and sometimes you're caught off guard, and it's just a matter of learning from your experiences, and that's really good. And
mhm,
I hate to keep you an extra minute, but I think this is actually a very important question for people that go out and do these investigations at homes, for families. When do you get to a point where you say, okay, this is beyond me? I have to consult like a higher spiritual person, like a priest, or someone to come and take care of
mhm.
the space. When do you feel like you get to that point where okay, I shouldn't be doing this; it should be someone else?
Right. Well, when you get to that point, I never got to that point.
Well,
But
that's
when
good.
you, yeah, but when I know a lot of people that have, and I know why. When the person gets to that point, when you're going on to investigation, I mean, the places you gotta go to the house to the family, like for some. I know people that went to the same house for a year trying to help a family. You know, I mean, when it gets to a certain point, you notice because you yourself will start to be wore down, and start to get weak and vulnerable. And that's when you really need to say, you know what, I cannot keep pushing this out. I need someone stronger, a fresh mind, someone with fresh prayer idea, whatever. I will go with them, but I need some more strength, you know and that's when you also pray for strength, because when you get to a certain point, because there are spirits that are so strong, that you trying to help a person, but at the same time you're trying to help them, they weren't on you. Now that spirit is trying to attack you or others, so it's
Yeah,
like so much stuff going on. So that's when you don't just keep staying there. When you notice yourself getting weak and you really starting to have a lot of issues with you handling the situation, don't keep trying to do it. Just say, let me find someone else that can come in as well and help me with this. Because if you keep going for it and trying to do it, that thing's going to kick your butt. And whoever in that house you're trying to help. So you really get some help, or get some time and stay away, have someone else to go in and try to help you with that. And then when you strengthen, and do more meditation, read scripture, really get yourself together and strengthen yourself more. And then you get back in there if the case is not already finished. Get back there and help it, and then just take care of it. But just don't do it when you start feeling yourself, your body, you're losing strength, and your mind is just somewhere else, and all kinds of stuff is happening. Because do know when you're trying to help someone, there'll be a lot of attacks on you too. So you got to really, really, really evaluate yourself, when you're doing it, and that way you stay fresh. Because if you don't, you won't make it through it, and it won't help the family at all either.
Thank you so much. That's great advice. Okay, so if anybody wants to reach out or ask for help or assistance, how can they get a hold of you? What's the best way? Or it could be on the show or anything like that.
A lot of people text me because I don't never check my emails. I don't ever check. When the people was trying to get in touch with me to do History's Greatest Mysteries and then Josh Gates' show, they couldn't even reach me. They reached my wife because I don't never check that stuff.
That's why you are a team. That's why it works out really well.
Yeah, they text me. They could text me at my number is 240-625-7602.
All right.
And it's on the Facebook too, But text me. But when you do say who you are or what the situation is, because you do get cuckoos out there and stuff. And we did one investigation. When I say we were part of TAPS, the extension of the team, we went into a house because they, wanted the extension team to go. We went in, and the whole freaking family was over there. They thought they was going to be on TV and stuff.
Oh.
I said, "Are you serious?" Come to find out, that's the one that had the rodents in the wall. I said, "Oh my goodness," So yeah, people be tripping. They try to set you up too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but next time if I get back on here, this audio stuff can be fixed. I haven't used this thing in so long.
It's been good toward the end here, so don't worry about it.
Okay.
But no, we appreciate it. We'd love to have you back. So let us know, and it's and hopefully your wife can be here too. I'm sorry she's under the weather. And she feels better, or more up to things soon.
Yeah, that'll be great because we could talk some more about the shows, History's Greatest or whatever. And my wife, when COVID took place, when she was in a coma.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all, she was in a coma for a long time, and the stuff she experienced when she was in that coma.
Yeah.
In that hospital will mess you up. So yeah, it'd be good to talk about more of a near-death experience type stuff, So
yeah, I'd love to get her perspective and on that. That would be great.
Yeah. It's nice meeting you, JD.
Yeah, nice meeting you.
Yeah. So
thank you so much for joining us. Really, it's been good. It's been nice, and it's good to catch up again.
Yeah. I haven't been on no video stuff online in so long. I used to always do it, but it's been a while. So yeah, fine. I talk you here. I could talk you for 4 hours. It don't make me no difference. That's when my wife be like, "Shut up."
We'll turn you into a series. You'll continue talking.
Thanks for joining us. Don't disappear because we have stuff I have to talk about in the lobby afterward. But
all right, man.
Yeah, stay on. Stay with us.
Have a good night, everyone. Catch us next week as we will have new podcast weekly going forward into the new year.